Hello, my name is Noel Scher. I am the retail and e-commerce manager here at LouElla Wine, Beer, and Beverage. And I'd like to welcome you to your June 2023 video for the LouElla Wine Explorers Club. Thank you very much for being part of the club. We really hope you are enjoying being part of it. This month's selection begins with a sparkling wine from the Jura. So the Jura is a region in eastern France, pretty much positioned to the east of Burgundy before reaching the Swiss border. It is a region that is very mountainous, very, very high elevation, and very, very rich in Jurassic limestone soil. So really one of the best terroirs for grape growing in France, and over the last 20 years or so has gone from being a somewhat unknown area to being one of the hottest areas for wine collectors, especially ones with a somewhat adventurous palate. This wine comes from Benedict and Stéphane Tissot. The Tissot estate has, for a long time, been considered one of the 2 or 3 top producers in the Jura. Benedict and Stéphane are the newest generation to be running the estate, and with them taking over, I feel like the estate's kind of taken things up to another level in terms of the quality of the winemaking and the precision and the beauty of the wines. This is a Blanc de Noir from them, so a sparkling wine from 100% Pinot Noir fruit. And this is one of the best sparkling wines I've tasted so far this year from any region. It is method champenois, so it's made in the same manner as champagne. Comes from 25 to 50-year-old Pinot Noir vines, all hand harvested. The steepness of the vineyards in this part of France are such that you couldn't harvest with machine there, even if you wanted to. They do the primary fermentation for the base wine here in large neutral oak casks, and that lasts for 4 to 6 months. It then goes into bottle for the secondary fermentation and spends 6 to 18 months, as they say, sur lie, aging on its lees in the racks they use to do that secondary fermentation, the riddling racks, like they use in France. After 18 months, they disgorge the wine, meaning they remove the sort of yeast cap that forms at the top. They do no dosage. They don't add any sugar or sweet wine, making this a very, very crisp and dry cuvee before recorking and shipping. Delicious, delicious wine. There's a lot of quince and sort of tropical fruit aromas and flavors on the palate, but the finish is crisp, super, super stony, and just bracing and elegant. I think you're really going to enjoy this. A really beautiful bottle of sparkling wine from Benedict and Stéphane Tissot. Okay, the next wine in your 4-pack for June is one of my all-time favorite Italian white wines. This is the 2021 Bison Cinque Terre Marea. This is a wine that comes from Liguria, basically the Italian Riviera. Liguria is stunningly beautiful, where towns kind of come up almost out of the water, climbing up these steep cliffside vistas, and the vineyards sit at the top of these cliffsides, almost dangling down into the water. Everything has to be done by hand. You can't drive tractors in these vineyards. Too steep, too mountainous. Bison is the passion project of a gentleman named Pierluigi Lugano. He was a wine merchant and a wine retailer. Maybe I like this wine so much because I know it's made by a wine shop owner. But Pierluigi started Bison and started making wines back in 1978 as the concept being to work with these small organic producers that he was meeting in the Liguria region who really didn't have enough vines, any of them themselves, to bottle their own wines or the winemaking knowledge to do it themselves. So he began to form relationships with them where he would buy fruit from these little farmers to make wines himself. And they are absolutely spectacular. This Cinque Terre is a blend of 3 varieties. 2 of them are pretty obscure. This is 60% a grape called Bosco, 20% Vermentino, which you may have heard of, and 20% Albarola, which is a very unique to the Ligurian region white variety. They do a lot of long lees aging on this, so the wines are aged in tank for at least a year on like the bits of grape skin, stem, yeast cells, stirred, which gives the wine sort of a creamier palate feel. And this wine is absolutely deliciously seaside kissed. It's very briny. It's very salty. It's got almost kind of like like a little touch of like when you have like an oyster and you can taste the seawater in it. It would be a great wine to have with oysters or really any kind of seafood. It's crisp. It's citrusy. It's very, very dry, but still has a very, very kind of lush, thick feel on the palate. I love this wine. I've been drinking this wine for 20 years. You don't see it around the market much. The local distributor for this had like half a case in stock, so I snagged it and thought it would be perfect for a spring summer wine for the wine club. So I hope you enjoy this wine as much as I've enjoyed it over the years. Cheers. The next wine is another off the beaten path discovery. This wine comes to us from Switzerland. This is the 2020 Maison Gilliard d'Oldemont. Maison Gilliard is a very, very old estate in the Valais region of Switzerland. The Valais region is the largest of Switzerland's wine growing regions. It's also home to many, many alpine ski resorts. It's very, very famous for its skiing. In fact, the Matterhorn, maybe the most famous Alp, is located in the Valais region, but it's also very, very well known for its wines, very high elevation wines, of course. Maison Gilliard was founded back in 1885, and the very first cuvée that they bottled in 1886 was of this wine, the Dol des Monts. This is a blend of 85% Pinot Noir and 15% Gamay, and it is really elegant and delicious. It has an extremely silky mouthfeel from the Pinot Noir, and then there's kind of like a mocha dust, little bit of grip to it that you often get from Gamay. It's a great wine to chill a little bit as the weather's getting warmer and you're looking for a chillable red. I would throw this in the refrigerator for a half an hour to 40 minutes before drinking it. It's going to lift the aromatics even more, make the refreshing quality of that Gamay Pinot blend even more sort of zesty on a warm day. Swiss wines are difficult to come by. A lot of them are not imported into the United States, and they are often fairly expensive. This wine normally on the shelf would be $46. With the 20% off club price this month, it would be $36.80. It's imported in tiny, tiny quantities. The distributor that sells it locally seems to be out of it more than they have it in stock. So if you enjoy this bottle and want to get some more, let me know as soon as possible, and we'll try to order some more in for you. So 2020 Maison Gilliard Dol des Monts from the Swiss Valais. Cheers. For your last selection in June of 2023, we've been tasting so many off the beaten path wines. I thought it would be fun to include a wine from someplace very well known, Bordeaux, but Bordeaux with a little bit of a twist. This wine is the 2019 Chateau Lagrave Fransac. Fransac is a appellation in Bordeaux on what they would call a right bank appellation. It's on the right side of the river where the soil is basically structure of clay over gravel and limestone. That clay soil really favors the growing of Merlot. So most of the wines from this side of the river, things like Pomerol, Saint-Emilion, are all dominated by Merlot, as this cuvée is as well. Chateau Lagrave is an estate that has had its sort of new life begin in 1974 when a gentleman named Paul Barret took over the property from his grandfather, and immediately, and way ahead of the curve back in the 70s, began converting the vineyard work over to complete organic and eventually fully biodynamic. He also did the unheard of, which was instead of trying to grow the size of his estate, he actually shrunk it. When he started working these vines, they were 15 hectare under vine. He sold things off and now only works 7 with the notion that he can focus more on quality with less land to worry about. And now Paul's children, Gabrielle and Edith, over the last few years have begun to take over operation of the winery as he's moving towards retirement. This wine's imported by a gentleman named Jeffrey Alpert. It's a little side note. Jeffrey is an importer with a very, very small, very carefully honed and curated portfolio. And I met him over 20 years ago when he was first starting off in wine importing. This was in New York. And sort of lost track of him because he didn't have a distributor for North Carolina until just now. A small distributor here in the state has started to work with some of Jeffrey's wine. So when I heard about that, I got very excited, knowing that he always finds really cool stuff. Asked to taste a few things. This was the first wine I tasted from his portfolio in years, and I was really, really impressed. This is elegant, precise, soulful, and interesting Bordeaux. Bordeaux to me can sometimes be a little bit generic, to be honest, which largely comes from the fact that a lot of producers in Bordeaux are going for style to garner high scores. They extract a lot, they put a lot of new oak on the wines. The Chateau Le Grave has almost no new oak on it, and as I was saying, Paul Barret was going for more, to show more of the elegance and the mineral quality of the terroir here than big fruit. Now this is a wine you could age for a while. There's no problem if you wanted to set these bottles down for 10 years, but there's something really fun and exuberant about where this wine is right now in its youth, so I wouldn't miss that either. So pop a cork, grill up some steaks. It's absolutely drinking fantastically right now. You don't even really need to decant it. Yeah, it's kind of, I hate to use the word textbook Bordeaux because it really isn't, but I would say that it is a perfect example of how Merlot, Cab Franc, and Malbec behaves when planted to this very specific clay and limestone terroir in the right bank of Bordeaux. All right, I hope you enjoy all the selections this month. It's been fun finding these wines, and I'm looking forward to talking to you in July with a whole new set. Take care now. Bye.